Hey, this is Chris Jericho, and you are listening to Houston Wrestling Radio, probably the best podcast in all of Texas, and probably the only one I've ever heard of. So crank it up and enjoy.
To be the man, you gotta be the Iron Man. And I am the Iron Man, NWA's World Heavyweight Champion. And you're listening to Houston Wrestling Radio. This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, and you are listening to Houston Wrestling Radio. Arriba!
Hello, welcome everyone guys to a special mini episode of Houston Wrestling Radio. Today we decided to get together and do a little bit of a review for an awesome event that we went to on Friday night, the NWA Houston Invasion event, where basically stars from NWA Houston and the national NWA scene took on wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it was a really great night, and I think it warranted us to have a whole mini episode for these guys.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Arigato. Hi. Hi.
Bye.
First off, just right off the bat, I'd like to thank some of the people that made it possible, and some of the people that made us Houston Wrestling Radio feel welcome there. I'd like to thank Matt. He was one of our first contacts. Also Colby. He was our main contact there. He hooked us up with all kinds of things. He hooked us up with some interviews, with press passes, with a cool table to sit at, and being there early. We felt like we were VIPs almost.
Almost, just about.
Just about. So that was really cool. Of course, the head guy in charge, Mr. Chris, also known as Tony Brooklyn, met us. We got to shake his hand and talk to him for a little bit. So that was awesome.
Really nice guy.
Yeah, really nice. Really cool. Everybody there was very gracious. It was so cool getting that royal treatment for us,
And they were appreciative of us coming out to support them.
Exactly, yeah, and we hadn't had that before, with other indie shows or whatever around town, where it's like they're coming up to us and being, "Hey, man, thanks for coming, and what can we get you? What can we do for you? What can we do this and that?" Usually it's the other way around. We're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Can we help you out?" So it was really cool. It was a nice a vibe that we got from everybody there, everybody that we got to shake hands with and meet, and it was just really great. They were really good dudes, and a lot of that southern hospitality going around.
Yes.
But enough of that. Let's get to the actual event, the actual show, because I'm sure that's what you, the listeners, want to hear mostly about. While we were there, we got to do several interviews with several of the guys. That was before the matches, before the show started. So the way we're going to do it is we'll probably talk about a few of the matches, and right before we go into a match with anybody that we happen to interview, We'll get to the interview and then cut back. Sounds good, guys?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Let's see here. What's the first match that we want to start off with? What was the first thing on the card? Was that
that was Carson?
Carson's match, yeah.
Yeah, Carson and one man Mike Dell against
Ricky Starks and the Modern Day Hero?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was a good match, man. It was...
That was a hell of a way to open the show. Like, set the tone for what you're going to get. It was really good. It was a hell of an opener.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Barbie looking fabulous.
I was wondering which one of us would be the first one to say something about Barbie.
I was a little distracted during that match, I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
Between her and the ring girl,
Oh,
and props to the heel team, Starks and the Hero. They knew how to really get heat using Barbie as their advantage to try to get heel heat from the crowd. They know what they're doing. Yeah. The whole four of them, it looked like they knew exactly what they were doing. It was a really good match.
They had the characters and everything down,
yes,
personalities wise.
Yeah, especially highlighting again the heels, especially Ricky Starks. I think every time he was
dancing,
doing the hip gyrations, the suggestive moves and dances.
I got lost for a second. I was about to break out some singles.
It
wasn't for Barbie,
and it wasn't for Barbie. Like, man.
And then, there was just some of the high impact stuff, some of the top rope. I think, Mike Dell went for the, elbow, but didn't he miss it? Didn't the opponent roll out the way?
That was the finish of the match.
That was the finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and, it was pretty sweet looking, It was some really good stuff that guy can do. So, I mean, I already knew that Carson could do pretty good. You know,
Yeah,
I've
we
seen
saw
him
him
before.
at Ring of Honor. He had the opening match.
Yeah, I saw him at Ring of Honor. I've also seen
match.
him at a couple of other indie shows
right.
around town.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's good. I know he's good.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen Dell or Starks or Modern Day Hero, so, you know.
These are only things I've heard. I've just never seen them.
Exactly. Well, we've seen Starks getting pimp slapped by Ryback.
Yeah, I've been to a few of the NWA Houston shows earlier in the year at the Veteran of Foreign Wars at Cyprus, and Mike Dell's elbow drop. The place is kind of compact, so it looks at times like Mike Dell's about to hit his head on the ceiling because he gets that high and it gets the drop done. I've seen what Carson and Mike can do in a couple of times with Starks in the modern day, but it was a great way to start the show.
Yeah.
What do you think, Megatron?
Hype. No, it was a great warm up match for the whole show. You know, that was my first time to be at an NWA event. You know, and just to see the whole spectacle of how they run their shows. Really good. It was a really cool event.
Yeah, this was only my second NWA event, if you want to count their Comic Palooza. You know, stuff that they do there, you know. So I've seen some stuff there, but other than that, this was also my first time. And we've been saying on this show many times before that we want to go. We want to check out what NWA Houston has to offer because we heard a lot of good things. It's just that the schedule never really works out. But this time we made sure that it worked out. And boy, was it worth it. You know, there was talk going around saying that any match on that card could main event any indie show in Texas. And they're right. That match, it was the opening match. That opening match could have been a main event of any other indie card anywhere around town. You know, so after the opening match, something really cool went down. This was really neat for me. I've never heard this before. I've never heard the Japanese national anthem sung.
Right.
Never heard it. That was really awesome. I mean, I kind of worked out for it.
I did too. I know Travis made the comment when we were at the show during the intermission that was the first time that he had heard both the Japanese national anthem and the USA national anthem done by males. Usually the national anthems are always done by females. And hearing both of them, and obviously the Japanese one will sound different because we never heard it before.
Right, yeah.
But having our anthem sung by a guy, it actually sounded very good. I was pleasantly surprised. And it was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, and I think it just kind of set the tone for the amount of respect, you know, going down at that show. You know, it's a wrestling show. Yeah, you know, it's about, you know, play violence or however you want to, you know. But, you know, there was a lot of respect going on there because, you know, hey, we got these guys as our guests from Japan. We're going to have them sing the national anthem. And everybody stood up for it, you know, like as if it was our national anthem being played as well. So I think that was a really classy thing. And go ahead, say what you're going to say.
For me, it kind of gave it kind of like a legitimate sports vibe feel to it, you know, because we watch wrestling and, you know, we got Santino from Italy and we had Kozlov from Russia and all this other stuff. But the fact that that they made so much of an effort to build the show as an invasion, that they were a part of the show, for them to have that national anthem sung before the beginning of the actual show, just gave that importance, that real fight vibe, as in watching a boxing fight where they have the main event matches, the Mexican guys comes out or Pacquiao from his country, they sing his national anthem first before his fight, you know, and then whoever the opponent is, they sing it in their anthem, and then having that vibe there at the show just kind of gave it
a big feel,
real prominence.
A big fight feel.
Yeah,
you know?
It really stood out from other not to disrespect any NWA shows they've had here, but they've really made it a big deal, a big fight atmosphere, and I liked it a lot.
Well, the other thing that added even more importance is what immediately followed. That's when the ring announcer just started announcing off all the important people there at the event, and it was our promoter here, and our promoter from San Antonio, and the promoter from Florida, and the promoter from, you know, NWA,
and Shiner Bock beer, the beer of Texas.
Yeah. And then, you know, hey, by the way, you know, the Bosch family's in the building.
Yes.
You know, okay.
Wow.
The Bosches are here. All right. And, the vice president of NWA. Oh, the president of NWA. Oh,
who you guys met and not realize who it was until after the fact.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know that Mr. Chris there was the vice president of NWA. He comes up to us, shakes our hand. It's like, hey, really good job on the interview there. I really liked it. And, you know, you guys were real positive. I was like, okay, thanks. And, you know, I was like, that guy was really nice. Who was that guy? Oh, the vice president of NWA. Oh,
I'm glad I knew that. I'm glad I knew that after we met him.
Yeah. So, but that was really cool, showing all this NWA and wrestling royalty, pretty much, and also the promoters from Japan. They showed them the respect too.
Yeah.
That also made it feel like it was a really big event. It was really a big deal.
All of these important, all the executives and all of them coming down for this event. Mm-hmm. That right there makes it a big deal.
Yes. Yeah. So that was really cool. Of course, after all that, they got us all nice and buttered up, and we were ready, for some more wrestling. And then, the next match came on. What was the next match there, Chris?
Teacher versus student.
Ah, yes. That involves a certain person that we got to interview, Mr. Raymond Rowe. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Before we get to talking about the match itself, why don't we go ahead and cut to the interview that we got to do right then and there, right before the whole event.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, guys, and here we are with another interview. We're sitting down with Raymond Rowe, man. It's pretty cool, man. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's no problem. It's a pleasure being here.
Cool. You sound a little hoarse there. What's going on?
Last week I wrestled Mike Dell, and as everybody knows, elbow from the top, it was on point. He dropped an elbow right across my throat, and I haven't really been able to swallow too well all this week.
Oh.
I did win the match, but I've been feeling it. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I hope you get to sound a little bit better there.
It's a process. It ain't ballet.
Exactly. Well, I was about to give you some orange juice. Thought you caught a cold or something.
Nah, no sir. That's an elbow right to the larynx.
Oh, that sounds a little bit more painful than the sniffles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, I kind of like to ask this about everybody that we interview. Just kind of start things off. How did you get into wrestling?
It's an interesting story. I used to go to a different church service than the rest of my family with my dad when I was about 3 or 4 years old. So we could come home and watch Sunday morning wrestling. This is when WWF was still on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
We used to watch Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and Andre the Giant and all those guys. Me and my dad would go to a different church service, come home. I mean, I've just loved wrestling my whole life. And then when I was in grade school, I got into amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
And started wrestling for my school and wrestled through high school. And when I was in high school, my coach, his little brother, was a wrestler. And my coach was named Dennis Marconi, and he introduced me to a guy named Lou Marconi.
Yeah.
Who ended up training me. I started training my senior year in high school. Within 3 months, I was having I had my first match, and I was actually wrestling that summer going into my freshman year of college. I trained with Lou for a year and a half, but I was wrestling actively after 3 months. He definitely, shaped me into the wrestler that I became. A lot of the lessons that he taught were about why we do certain things and how we approach matches and how you think about matches and how you prepare yourself mentally and how you handle things. And the longer I've been in wrestling, the more and more some of his lessons kind of have made sense. Maybe I was too young or I was too inexperienced to understand what he was trying to teach me. And, more and more it's sunk in as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more experience. Mm-hmm. So actually tonight, Lou Marconi is going to be wrestling. I'll be wrestling Lou Marconi. He's in town in Houston. And, we've only wrestled one-on-one one other time.
Yeah.
And that was about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a match that I'm really, really looking forward to. I guarantee I'll be talking worse than this after that because we're going to hit each other as hard as we humanly possibly can.
Cool. So we got a student versus teacher type thing going on.
Yeah, student versus teacher, and it's a guy that I respect a lot. He's kind of been saying some things. We'll see what happens. Egos are involved. It's he says that he didn't teach me everything he knew. I've had 10 years to learn a bunch of stuff that he didn't teach me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna lay it all out. We're gonna hit each other. We'll probably shake hands before the match. I don't know if we'll shake hands after the match. So we'll see what happens.
So it's kind of been like a lifelong journey for you ever since you were little, doing this whole wrestling thing, huh?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I've wanted to wrestle since I knew what wrestling was. I actually didn't play football my senior year because I was trying to train for high school wrestling. And then, I went to the state tournament, and I was trying to really, really make a go as an amateur wrestler. And then my senior year, that's when I got into pro wrestling. I started at 18. I've been wrestling for 10 years now. So it's, this coming summer, it'll be 11. I mean,
nice.
It's something that I've done my entire adult life, and I have no intentions of stopping.
Well, that stick-to-itness is very commendable and something that I would look up to. But there's something else about you that a lot of people look up to, and something that you and I both share. We both have something in common. We're both straight edge. You're a straight edge guy, right? And I think that's pretty neat. You don't see that very often. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about how that came about?
Yeah, I haven't drank a beer, smoked a cigarette, or anything like that since I was 14 years old.
Okay.
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, not the nicest neighborhood.
The Miz is from there, so you know it's not. Yeah.
He grew up in Parma. He's not from Cleveland. Don't ever say he's from Cleveland, because he's not. People from Cleveland know there's a difference between Parma and Cleveland. It's very, very different. But I made some bad choices when I was younger. Did some things that I shouldn't have done, and started drinking. Experimenting. Being a stupid kid. And when I was a freshman, I went to freshman football camp, and a kid gave me a Minor Threat CD.
Okay.
And he gave me some hardcore punk music.
Yeah.
And it just completely and totally blew my mind. It was all straight edge stuff. It was all, I had never even heard of the term.
Yeah.
And then I got into the music first, and then I started going to the shows, and, it completely and totally changed my life. There was a long time there where I was so hardline straight edge that I wouldn't take aspirin. I wouldn't drink caffeine.
Yeah.
I broke 3 ribs in high school, and I didn't take Advil.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't want anything foreign or chemical in my body. It's something that, I used to be very angry about. All teenagers are angry.
Yeah.
But that was my outlet. I was mad because I was straight edge and other people weren't. So if you offered me a beer, I'd punch you in the face. Didn't make me a lot of friends. As I've gotten older, I've realized, I'm straight edge for me.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody else wants to do. If they want to look up and say, hey, that's a cool thing that you're straight edge, and they want to maybe make that choice, that's great. But if they don't, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. The only ones who I really care about trying to reach is the younger generation, the kids, because they don't have a lot of role models out there that say you don't have to drink to have a good time.
Right.
You don't have to smoke to be cool. All they see in pop culture is drinking and smoking and, having promiscuous sex and just doing all kinds of stuff that's going to you're either going to end up in jail, in a hospital, or in an early grave. And it's not, so if I can be a positive influence, especially looking the way I do, that's the last thing that people are expecting.
Yeah.
So it's a cool opportunity.
That is really cool. And, I hope somebody listening to this that doesn't really know you or your character, who maybe just assumes, it's just a gimmick just because of CM Punk's popularity. No, you are the real deal. You're straight edge just like how he is, just like how I am. You're a straight edge dude, so let it be known right here, right now. That's not just a gimmick with this guy.
No, I've been straight edge, like I said, since I was 14. I've gone to shows my whole life. I know a lot of straight edge bands. They used to crash on my couch when they come through Cleveland. Like, anybody in that community knows my name, knows who I am. I've got the, I hate to use the term, but I've got the street cred to back it up.
Awesome. Well, the last time I seen you was in San Antonio, when Ring of Honor went to San Antonio in June, and you put on an awesome match.
Thank you.
And then next thing I know, I'm hearing reports that you're doing some more things with the Ring of Honor. How's that going, man?
It's going. I've been in contact with them. I wrestled, like I said, when Honor Deep in the Heart of Texas, I believe was the name of the show.
Yeah.
I wrestled Bobby Fish. Had a really good match. Didn't turn out the way I wanted. And then the Ring of Honor office was happy with my efforts because they called me again and scheduled me for a 2-night tour. I wrestled in Chattanooga, Tennessee against Bobby Roode, and then Birmingham, Alabama against Michael Elgin.
Nice.
Both hard-hitting, really, really solid matches. I'm talking to them again about more dates. So, they're interested in me, which has been a goal of mine since I started wrestling. When I started wrestling, I had 3 goals. I wanted to wrestle 1 match in WWE, I wanted to wrestle in Japan, and I wanted to wrestle for Ring of Honor. A Ring of Honor DVD is actually the first thing that I saw wrestling that wasn't WWE.
Okay.
I didn't know that any type of wrestling existed but WWE until I saw a Ring of Honor DVD, and it was I think it was Low Key versus Bryan Danielson versus Christopher Daniels.
Oh God, that's
yeah. And it completely changed my mindset and really set me on the path between Ring of Honor and Taz from ECW. Was what made me believe that I could be a wrestler. You know, nice. I saw guys who weren't 6'5", who weren't 300 pounds, you know, who didn't look like Hulk Hogan wrestling and doing these things that were very athletic, very hard hitting. And, you know, that's kind of how I've tried to mold my style and mold my approach to wrestling.
Awesome. Sounds good. And, you know, I would say that has been successful. You have a really awesome, hard-hitting style, and I enjoy watching it. I haven't got to see a whole lot of you, but the little that I have seen, I've been really, really impressed. I've talked about it on the show before, so Travis can attest to that. But, you know, we get to see you again tonight. Hope you have a great match, and I really look forward to seeing you on the show. Before we let you go, is there anything you need to put over or plug or anything?
No, I mean, anybody who wants to follow my career can. I'm most active on Facebook. I have a Twitter and I have an Instagram, but I don't really update them very much.
Okay.
It's Facebook.com/X Raymond Rowe X. You know, I've got T-shirts for sale and all that fun stuff. So it's
cool.
It's an art form, you know. So it's something that's really, you know, there's a lot of guys out there struggling. So I would say support the show, support the guys that are fighting and sacrificing their bodies for your dollars, you know, your entertainment. So just like I said, support good wrestling.
Yes.
That's important. Everyone wants to say support indie wrestling.
Support good indie wrestling.
Support good indie wrestling. If it's a garbage show, don't go, and they'll stop. Those shows will stop. So thank you guys for having me on, and we'll see you tonight.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was our interview with Raymond Rowe. He was a really nice guy. And, you know, everybody that we interviewed, and you'll hear the interviews, you know, as we go along. Everybody that we interviewed, they were so nice. They were so cool and, you know, willing to talk with us. And even Raymond Rowe, I mean, you heard him with the sore throat and everything from having the elbow drop on him by Mike Dell.
The Delbo.
The Delbo. I like that.
As of right now, we're calling it the Delbo.
The Delbo. I hope he's listening to this. Maybe he'll take that as a suggestion.
Yes. Double drop.
Yes. But anyway, I mean, you know, Raymond Rowe is suffering from having a sore throat because of an elbow drop. It's still willing to talk to us, and not even willing, but wanting to. It's like, hey, I want to sit down and talk to you. That's really cool.
But you're a big fan of his too, so that should have been even more of an honor for you.
It was. You know, I haven't seen a whole lot of him. I saw him at Comic Palooza. I saw him in San Antonio. I looked at a few of his things online. I've seen just very little of him, but the little of him that I've seen, I've really liked. And I mean, aside from the fact of all the straight edge stuff, you know, that kind of made me a mark for him a little bit. But you know, it was just really cool getting to sit and talk with him. And then, of course, we watched his match unfold later on in that evening. So let's talk a little bit about the match.
A lot of stiff work between both the guys.
Yes.
Classic
indeed.
old school Houston wrestling. It's awesome. I liked it a lot. It was, oh man.
The throws, the suplexes that were exchanged by both guys. I knew that, like I said, from the little that I've seen of Raymond Rowe, I knew he had that style of almost like a suplex machine Taz style, just suplexing all over the place. I knew he did. But I didn't know a whole lot about Marconi. But Marconi did too.
Well, he's his teacher.
Yeah, so. After all.
The chain wrestling in the beginning of the match set the tone for what the story they were telling, and it was damn good.
It was really good. But there was something else about that match that made it entertaining.
Oh, shut up, Jasper.
Okay, when the entrances were coming out, and Raymond Rowe was coming out there, basically, Jasper was sitting front row.
Jasper Davis.
Yeah, Jasper Davis. He was sitting out in the front row, and then he held up a sign saying, I beat Raymond Rowe.
The one that said Rover rated.
Yeah, he busted out that one later. He had several sides.
Yes.
But the first one was I beat Raymond Rowe, and like Raymond Rowe was coming out to his entrance. He's like, I beat this guy, blah, blah, blah. And then later on in the match, Raymond Rowe did a cool move, another cool suplex or throw, and he held up a sign that says, Rover rated. It was great. Jasper was just like heckling this guy, and of course, Jasper was getting heat from the audience because of that, and it was just really cool. It was really entertaining.
And poor Chris is getting heat from NWA right now because you're over here yelling out Hammer.
Oh yeah,
no one else in the audience
because he looks just like Hammer from Reality of Wrestling. I wonder if there's a twin.
I don't know, but I think he turned around and told you to shut up, Chris.
Yeah, he before the show even started, he had ringside seats, and he noticed we were all there, and he was being very polite to you, and he was being very, very polite to Abel, and then he said, "Hey, Chris, how's it going?" I was like, "Well, shut up, Chris." So it was good that guy got his comeuppance at the end of the match, getting tossed out by the security. Even though it took 5 of them.
Yeah, it did take 5 of them. He wound up jumping the rail and trying to get involved in the match, and security tried to tackle Jasper, but they couldn't. They escorted him out after 5 of them got on his case.
Jasper actually posted a picture on Facebook of him getting carted out by security. You should go check it out. It's on Facebook right now. So.
Nice.
That was some funny stuff. Of course, that kind of led to, a shenanigans type ending because of, Jasper getting involved. But, it was still a really good match. And I could foresee, maybe something else coming out, maybe some sort of rematch or something later on down the line between, Raymond Rowe and Marconi because, this match ended with controversy, because of Jasper. And then, of course, this could just lead to more of Jasper versus Raymond Rowe, which I'll be totally behind that. I love both of those guys. So
no complaints here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was impressed with both guys in this match.
Yeah. So that match did live up to the hype. And again, that match could have main evented any indie match in Texas.
And he's the opening match.
Yeah. Well, the other match was the opening.
Not including that one. But.
I guess one was the dark match,
right.
and this would have been the opening match, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what was next after that?
I believe the next match was the Lone Star Tag Team Championship match between the Sons of Texas against Damian Wayne and Lance Erickson. Hey,
Damian Wayne, Lance Erickson.
Those names sound familiar.
Yeah, they do. We got to interview those guys as well.
That's why it sounds familiar.
It does. You know what? Why don't we go ahead and cut to that interview right quick?
All right.
All right, guys, we got another interview here at the NWA Houston show. We got the Lords of Chaos sitting down here at the table, Lance Erickson and Damian Wayne. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Appreciate you guys having us.
Thank you for having us. Very good.
Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time. We've been hearing a lot of good stuff about you, a lot of buzz going around. Right now, you're the current NWA Midwest Tag Team Champions, and you're kind of gunning here for some other titles in the Lone Star State as well, and you're number 1 contenders for the Southern Tag Team titles. So there's a lot of stuff going on with you guys here. And from what I hear, this is kind of like the last territory that you've yet to dominate. So really, really excited to see you guys coming down here to Houston and try to bring your skills here to Texas, man. That's really, really cool. How's that been going for you?
It's going good, For about a year and a half, we pretty much beat the living hell out of each other everywhere. So we kind of got tired of doing that and said, let's take our energy and start beating the hell out of everybody else. So that's how we put our team together. And like you said, we're creating a lot of buzz everywhere we go. We're trying to wrestle the top talent. We want all the belts. It don't matter where it is, what it is. If we get a shot at it, we want it. That's how you're going to get the world tag straps. That's how you're going to get noticed, and that's how you're going to get talked about.
There you go.
We've pretty much dominated everywhere we've been so far. There was controversy over us losing the Southern Tag titles back to the Untouchables, but come November 1st, we actually have a match with them back down in Nashville at a big show they're having. Then the very next day, we go to NWA Smoky Mountain on November 2nd. We wrestle Ring of Honor stars, Cedric and Caprice, Cedric Coleman and Cedric Alexander and Caprice Coleman. We wrestle them for the NWA Mid-Atlantic titles. So, and then we've actually got we've got a double shot that we actually wrestled a Rock and Roll Express too that night. So, we've got a lot of things coming up, and, we're glad to be here in Texas. We'd like to spend more time here than what we do, but, it's hard with them having to fly us in and take care of us and different things. So sometimes it gets expensive. We understand that, but we're here for one reason, and that's the NWA World Tag Titles. No other reason for us to be here.
Awesome. Well, you're going to take another step this evening. You're going to be taking on the Cowboy James Claxton and Alex Reigns. That's going to be another high-profile match here at this high-profile event.
Nothing but respect for those two guys. James Claxton is a very, very big guy. He's got a great look. He can wrestle too. So Buddy can brawl also. Alex Reigns is, he looks like him and Ray Rowe kind of resemble each other a lot in a lot of the things that they do. Mm-hmm. Ray Rowe is just great. So is Alex Reigns. So we've got our hands full tonight, but that's what we want to do. To be the best, you've got to beat the best, and you got to be in the ring with the best. Everybody that we've wrestled so far, we've pretty much dominated. We have, besides the Untouchables, being honest with you, and the Untouchables are a good team too. But we're going to show on November 1st why they're not in our league, and we plan on tonight showing the Sons of Texas that they're not in our league either.
Awesome! Sounds like that's going to be a pretty good match.
We think so. We think we'll get our hands raised and we'll be the new Lone Star Tag Champs too. So. There could be a possibility that we could have 5 to 6 of the territories' regional titles within the next month. We already have one, and that's what we plan on doing, collecting all the belts. They ain't got a choice but to give us a chance then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So we feel we're the number one contenders also for the world titles, not just everywhere else we go. We really want to work with Harry and Lance, and we want to wrestle. We have nothing but respect for them. In my opinion, they're one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the world right now. But we also consider ourselves being one of those top teams also.
If we don't consider ourselves or think that we're one of the best or the best, then we don't need to be in this business. So
Indeed.
Going in every day and every night and proving it, it's right up our block. That's what we want to do.
Sounds good, man. Awesome. Well, let me kind of rewind a little bit. Go back to the early years for you guys. How did y'all get into wrestling? Who did you like watching when y'all were little?
I actually had a late start, and I didn't start training until I was 30. I'm 41 now. So I grew up in the 80s. I grew up on Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, the Crockett Promotions. My 2 favorite all-time, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham. 2 of the greatest to ever step inside the squared circle and to study and learn from.
Yeah.
I got to train with Tully for about 4 months and had him as a booker for a few shows. And then another big experience for me was had a dark match at WWE and actually had Barry Windham as a match agent. So,
nice.
Yeah, that was very, very awesome. So, that's how I got started. I wasn't really actually expecting to wrestle. I knew I had the talent. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't think I had the size or the look. And I busted my ass to get where I am today. So,
all right, that's really cool. You had the late start, and that's sometimes people think, oh man, I'm too old to kind of get into the game, but you did it, man. So people could look up to you for that.
Yeah, that's what I preach is like, don't give up your dream. Don't. When I got into training, the closest age to me was 22, so I was 8 years older than everybody in there, and out of 27 guys, I was the only one to make it.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You're able to, overcome that. So that's pretty awesome. All right. Well, what about you, man? Who'd you like when you were growing up?
Same as me and D-Dub are kind of, we think alike. We don't even have to talk in the ring. We can just look at each other. That's how much we're alike. And I'm the same thing. I grew up on Mid-Atlantic, Georgia Championship, that type stuff. I watched the WWF back then, but I was more towards the Southern style of wrestling. So Mid-Atlantic and Georgia was 2 of the big territories that I really liked. Mid-South, that area also. So a couple of the guys that I really liked and everything was I was always a heel, a bad guy mark. So,
yeah.
I was the same way. The Horseman, Tully Blanchard, I thought was one of the best workers of all time. I'm a big Arn Anderson mark too. I really love the way Arn could work. And I also had a WWE dark match, and Arn was one of the agents that I had.
Really?
Yeah, I worked Billy Gunn. So, And it was so, we're like a mirror image of each other in a lot of ways, on a lot of the ways we think about the wrestling business and different things. I got into the wrestling business when I was 23. I'm 39 now. I've been 16 years. Frank Parker trained me, who was one of Jimmy Valiant's first guys to graduate from Boogie's Wrestling School. And being honest with you, in my opinion, the best guy that's ever come out of that school. Frank's very respected in this business. And is a super, super good guy. So, that's pretty much how I got in. Went from there and then got with Ricky Morton and went on the road with Ricky. And he really polished me up to the business on different things in the business, in the wrestling business. So, I give a lot of credit also to Ricky. Frank trained me, but Ricky polished me. So
Gotcha.
I've been everywhere and done just about everything. So there's a couple of things that's left, and that's one is going to Japan, which me and Damien are very, very much pushing for, and also to be a world champ. And there's not a doubt in my mind, sooner or later we will be the world champs. They won't have a choice but to give us the match, and we feel deep in our hearts that once we do get in the ring with KES, we'll be the new tag champs. We believe that with all of our heart.
Awesome. Let me ask you another question. How'd you guys get together? How'd you guys hook up?
We actually had a show in North Carolina one night. Kind of walked by each other. I mean, like he said, you guys don't realize it, but for almost 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years, we just beat the hell out of each other. All up and down. I'm talking. We had dog collar matches, coal miners glove matches. And we just
coal miners glove matches.
We would have had a cage match, but Big Boy here couldn't fit through the door.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, but we've bled buckets of blood just killing each other. Walked by the hall at this show in North Carolina, kind of looked at each other and was just, we felt the same way. We're tired of just, we get screwed over a lot by the NWA in different places. You know what I'm saying? I mean, especially at Saw, we've gotten screwed over there. They do everything they can to keep us from being on top. You know what I'm saying? So, this and that. So, but they don't have a choice either. They have to give us what we want. And on November 1st, we get what we want there. And eventually the NWA, Bruce Tharp and Chris Ronquillo are going to have to give us what we want here. And that's a shot at KES. So that's why we're here today, is to prove to the people in Texas that we are worthy of wrestling with KES.
Awesome. Okay, one last thing before we wrap it up. You guys are a tag team, but you have, like you mentioned, wrestled singles before. What do you guys prefer? Do you prefer working singles or prefer working tag?
For me, I like them both. When I first broke into business, for the first 5 years in the business, I was a tag team with a partner, big time Mike Booth, who we were known as the Old School Empire. And we ran roughshod all over the East Coast, too, until he got hurt, and that's when my singles career took off. And, I did that for years, and I started teaming with Lane, and I love it. I missed it. Tag team wrestling is a lost art in this business, and not too many people know how to do it. And I think me and him together shows that we can do it, and we can do it to a top level. So that's.
Well, I mean, we both have excelled in both. We've excelled in singles. I'm still right now the NWA Mid-Atlantic Mountain State Heavyweight Champ. I'm also a new organization, NWA Greensboro, the guy that was there in North Carolina, which is actually where me and D-Dub joined up for this guy. I'm his champ, so I'm now also the NWA Greensboro Heavyweight Champ. D-Dub, I mean, his resume speaks for itself. I mean, he's a former two-time national champ, you know what I'm saying, this and that. So we've excelled at both. We like doing both, so every once in a while we do take singles matches. But right now what we're really concentrating on is tag team. And that's what we, when I first broke into business, I was, like I said, we're a mirror image of each other for the first 4 or 5 years. I was in a tag team called the Canadians, me and my partner Brian Douglas from West Virginia. So we both know tag team wrestling. Like he said, it is a lost art form, and we're bringing it back. And we've got great teams. I mean, the NWA is full of great teams. You got KS, us. You've got the Kings of the Underground. You've got the Sons of Texas. I mean, there's all kinds of tag teams down here that are very, very good tag teams. So, we've just dominated everywhere we've been. We plan on dominating here in Texas, too.
Well, sounds good, man. I really look forward to your match tonight with Reigns and Claxton. And, I'm sure you guys are going to tear the house down. Like, man, dang near every match seems like it's going to tear the house down. So it's going to be a really great.
Yeah, it's a stacked card from top to bottom.
So, hey, thanks so much for sitting down and chatting with us, guys. We'll hope to, see you again soon.
Thank you. I just want to say, thanks to guys like y'all that help put guys like us over. Gets the name of professional wrestling out there, indie wrestling, NWA. So with guys without guys like y'all, we're nothing.
Yeah. Well,
so we appreciate it.
If we don't have people to cover us and tell other people how we are busting our asses to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's why we really thank you guys, because not only do we bust our ass by wrestling and going to the gym and doing everything else, it takes guys like you to help us. So thank you guys so much for helping not only the Lords of Chaos, but the NWA and indie wrestling and stuff.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, there we go. Lance Erickson, Damian Wayne, also known as the Lords of Chaos.
Cool name, by the way.
That is a cool name. Yeah, that is really awesome. You know what? Right there at the end, when they decided that they were going to put us over, that was just an example of what we were talking about earlier in the episode, how they were gracious of us being there. You know, that was the attitude the whole night.
Enough about us. Let's get on to the Brawl Fest.
Okay, yeah. It was pretty darn good. They started off really fast paced, heavy, and they had a brawl, like you said, kind of on the outside a little bit before the match started. And where we were sitting, we were kind of right on the diagonal of the ring, basically, and that's where they had the ring lights set up. So the ring lights on the scaffolding opposite of where we were sitting, they kind of got nudged in the midst of the brawl.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a cool wrestling moment, because they ran him into the barricade, and the barricade hit the scaffolding, and the scaffolding shook the lights, and it changed the angle of the lights. So that was really cool, from a wrestling standpoint. It's like, oh my god, they're tearing the house down. But the side effect after that was that the lights kind of changed angle a little bit, so it was kind of right in my eye the rest of the night.
I should have taken pictures of you doing your Cobra impersonation, because that was the exact hand gesture you were doing, so you could try to attempt to block enough of the light, but still have enough view from your periphery to still pay attention to the rest of the show. Yes.
My
eyes! The goggles!
I was trying to block the light. I couldn't see. I was just putting my hand up there. I wasn't trying to do the Cobra.
Chris was nudging me like crazy. He's like, look, he's doing the Cobra. so as soon as I started to pull my phone, and you finally look over, and we're over here laughing our asses off at your dumb ass trying to do the Cobra.
I wasn't intending to do the Cobra. Enough about us.
I can respect wrestling in general, supporting the populace of saving the tatas. We all love boobies, pink being the color of the month. Erickson, pink is not your color, bro. You were awesome in the match. You surprised the hell out of me. You could really go. He's in good shape for the shape that he's in. Yeah. But dude, change it up, dude. Pink is not good.
Come on, man. It's just 1 month out of the year, man. You can take it. It's pink. It's saving the tatas. Come on, man.
Man.
And they're cute.
The sweat stains, though, man.
It's pink, man. It's October. Come on now. But
Just go for the hypercool look. It's alright.
Yeah,
okay.
All right. But I mean, D-Dub, as they referred to him in the interview there. We talked about it in the interview about him being at the age he's at and still being in good shape. When we saw him in the match, oh my god, this guy can go, man. And I hope I'm half as in good shape as he is when I get to be that age.
Abel, you won't be.
Oh, okay.
I hope I'm half as good a shape as he's in right this moment as I'm sitting on this couch.
I hope you're half as...
They're professional athletes, so they're definitely in better shape than any of us,
Apparently they didn't get enough brawling because the match hit in a double count out. True.
Yeah, it went to, kind of a draw finish, which I would assume would lead to more storyline,
right,
and, you're talking about the Midwest champs versus the Lone Star champs, and they're all trying to vie for and compete for, the World Championship, which we saw defended later that night. In fact, is that the next match?
No, that was, after the intermission. That was the only title match that we had, pre-intermission.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly, the next match was, Guido Watanabe against Scott Summers and fill in the blank for me.
Ryan Genesis.
That's right.
Kings of the Underground.
Yeah,
there we go.
I've heard, again, this is another example of dudes I've heard a lot about, but haven't got to see. Genesis and Summers. I've heard a lot about these two dudes.
I've heard of Summers. I've seen one match of Summers from Anarchy Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it was, I want to say maybe 2 years ago where they had the Joshi tournament with the females.
Yeah.
In between the matches, they had a big 8-man tag, and Scott Summers was in there, and I think that was my first taste of Scott Summers wrestling. And he was a lot more heavy. He was a lot more bulkier. He slimmed down a lot from the last time I've seen him. And I have him on my notes as a Human Torch. He basically had enough fire for days. He was lit up. He channeled his inner Rick Steiner, Junkyard Dog, with his gimmick, and he looked like if that match would have gone on for an hour and a half, he would have been in that same. He would have been redlining the entire time RPMs in that rate because he just had that much energy. And seeing guys like that, it's really rare in the business now, even in general, where some guy will just from the second you walk out to the curtain to the second that you limp out, have that kind of energy to keep, at least if he's that motivated to be in this match, it rubs off on the fans for them to be that motivated, and you can see it instantly, the face reactions that team was getting because of Scott just being who he was.
And what helped on that one was the fact that they're the first match to actually fight the New Japan Stars too.
Yes.
And I'm sure that was his extra motivation for them to go all out.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I was impressed with is the fact that so many people were there because, we're going to see the New Japan guys. And when they see any of the New Japan guys, these are the guys that we want to see. They're already going to have the crowd swinging towards wanting the New Japan guys to be faces. Well, what do? They got themselves over as heels. Yeah. When people wanted to cheer them, they healed it up, and they got it to where the crowd were booing them, were, treating them as heels. And, we showed all this love and all this respect for them before the show, and with the Japanese national anthem and all this and that, and all this hype about, we're gonna go see the Japanese dudes. The first Japanese dudes to come out, we're like, yeah, it's the Japanese dudes, alright. And by the time the end of the match, boo! You guys suck! Bye. USA!
Burns!
Yeah. So
look how they won. I mean, with the low blow.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a low blow. Yeah. So
we had our interview a couple of weeks ago with Ruthless Ryan, who said when we talked to him, he said, "You know what? I have the look where I just come off as a jerk."
Yeah.
No respect to the Japanese guys, Guido and Watanabe, but they just looked like assholes. They got
they played the part.
They got even before, like when they walked in, they got their respect because obviously the New Japan guys that came across the pond to come see us. But then as soon as they started making their mannerisms and their facial expressions before they even started doing their flip off hand gestures or doing any other heelish things, just the way they looked, they just came across as real douchebags. And you could forget really quick. You went from New Japan respect to, man, to hell with you, man. We're going USA, America all the way.
Yeah. and they did that. And, that's their job. So, I mean, some people would say, you're just talking mess about them and you're putting them down. Well, no, that's their job. They're supposed to be the jerks. And they played it to a T, and they did very, very well. So that was enough right there to kind of whet our appetite for, later on, for the rest of the Japanese guys to come out. But, it was great how much of a reaction there was, and that was just so cool. And those two guys, it was Watanabe and what was his name? Guido. Yeah. I'm impressed with them. Obviously, I've never seen them before, they're from Japan, and I hardly ever seen anything from New Japan. So that was like totally brand new to me. And I am motivated to maybe go out and see a little bit more of their stuff. Maybe go onto YouTube, go to the internet, whatever. Maybe see if I could import in a DVD from Japan or whatever and see what more I could see of these guys.
The WrestleMania that you went to on 24, you said you went to a Ring of Honor show?
Yes.
That was it New Japan or All Japan that was on that?
I don't know which promotion they were. All I know is that Japanese guys were there. I don't know what promotion they were from.
It might have been so
I know
long.
Kenta was there.
It might have been
Kenta
so
and
long.
his tag team partner.
Yeah. You might want to double check that DVD you have and see if it's not some of the same guys that we saw.
Okay. I could check. I can't remember what Kenta's tag team partner name was, but it was him and his partner, Kenta and his partner, but I don't think it was any of these same guys here. But who knows? It could be, and I'm just an idiot.
I can bank on that.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys.
That's more plausible.
Yeah, all right. What's next?
How about Jax Dane versus Michael Tarver?
Ah, yes. That was a match to really look forward to. But we also got an interview with Michael Tarver. And, man, he was really nice. But, let's let the interview speak for itself. Let's go ahead and get to that one. We're sitting here at the table with Michael Tarver, man. Pretty cool. Thanks for giving us this time. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cool, man. Well, whenever we do our interviews, we kind of like to break the ice and get to know you a little bit by asking this question. How did you get into wrestling?
Man, that is an interesting question. I got in in 2002, I had some friends back in Ohio where I'm from, and they were doing they had an independent group there, and they were trying to get me to come train with them because I was still playing football at the time. And I, started training a little bit, but I didn't finish and had some things happen, went through a divorce. And then I got back into it in 2004. And then I just, it was just really supposed to be just a hobby, just something to do. It's therapy. And it turned into a career, almost 10 years later. So that's pretty much, I was always a fan. I grew up on it. And I loved it. I watched the old World Class, NWA, WCW. I wasn't really the biggest WWE fan until the merger. It's funny. It wasn't. I didn't tell them that. I didn't tell them that.
Well, who was your favorite wrestler?
You're gonna laugh with Goldberg.
No, Goldberg's a good. That's a good pick.
I loved Goldberg, man. I used to watch Goldberg matches before my football games.
Did you get the new DVD that came out last week?
I didn't get it yet. No, I didn't get it yet, but I will. But yeah, Goldberg, Dusty Rhodes. He was my mentor when I was in FCW. Obviously Flair, Steamboat. All of those guys. Great Muta. I just loved WCW, and then later on, Chris Jericho. Benoit, Guerrero, that whole group, Perry Saturn, that whole group of guys, man. I loved watching those guys. And Rey Mysterio. It was always a lot of fun.
Cool, man. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. You mentioned in there a little bit about WWE, and I think the majority of our audience, that's where they'll know you from the first season of NXT, which produced, quite a bit of characters. Yeah. You were on there. You were a favorite of a lot of people. How was your time there on NXT? How did you like it?
It was interesting. It was a great experience. I got to see the world. I got to travel. I got to be on TV. It was one of my dreams I got to live out, and it's something I'm very grateful for. I got to, work with some great people and shake hands with legends, and I learned so much just from being there with them and just being inside the machine that is WWE, which is what drives what we do. No matter what people, whether or not they want to admit it, if there was no WWE, there'd be no us. Right. And with all that said, it was just fun. It was something. It was hard. It was fun. It was grueling. It was challenging. It was stressful. It was beautiful. It was everything.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Cool. And you're still wrestling. Yes. You're wrestling here today at the NWA Invasion, where New Japan guys are coming in, and they're coming in on our turf here. Yeah. But you're wrestling for NWA, but you're not an NWA Houston guy. You wrestle in a different part of the country. Where's that at?
I do. Tampa, Florida. NWA Florida Underground. I spent most of this year as the NWA Florida heavyweight champion. Before that, NWA Florida Bruiserweight champion, which was kind of like a strong style title that they created. It was just an opportunity for me to work with the guys there in Tampa and just kind of help build some of the guys and kind of move them along and help them out. But here, tonight, I got a Godzilla, man, Jax Dane, and I've been checking this guy out, man. This guy,
he's a freaking beast.
He is a beast indeed. And and we're all chasing, that contract. I'm looking for the contract. I want to go to New Japan because I feel like I fit in there. That's where I was born to be in wrestling.
Yeah.
As as New Japan, is to be in that ring. To wrestle guys. I want to get in there with Yuji Nagata and Nakamura, Shinsuke Nakamura and guys like that. There's just so many guys I want to get in there with and just trade with and just, Well, before I get there, got to go through Godzilla.
Yeah.
Jax Dane. That's a bad dude. Man.
That's no small feat.
Not at all.
I really look forward to that match tonight, man. That's going to be a bruising type of match.
Yes, definitely. Very physical. Very physical.
You're sitting here, and Oh, somebody just took a big bump.
Nice,
Sorry.
nice.
You're sitting here,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of noticing something about you, man.
Yeah.
You got a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If they'll let me ask a
course.
question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tattoo, and what's the story behind it?
That's a very good question. No one's ever asked me that. Favorite tattoo is on my inside of my left arm. Goes from my armpit to my wrist. Says "Armor of God." Basically, I'm very Christian, very much into my beliefs and my faith. My mother was a preacher. That was real. Father was really
That
a
was
prize
real.
fighter. My mother was really a preacher. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But and it was just it's a special thing. My mother and I were having a conversation while I was still in the contract, and I was kind of down on my luck or whatever. And she introduced me to a part of the Bible book called Ephesians, and then part of Ephesians is a story, or called the Armor of God. And it's just one of those things that when I read it, I identified with it, and it was something that I felt was special. And I decided to get it tattooed on my arm because I was proud of it. It was just something that I wanted to look down and just serve as kind of a reminder to just keep moving.
Well, cool, man. That's an awesome story, and awesome set of tats you got on you. And
I'm not done yet. I got more to go.
I'm sure. They say that they're really
it's an
addictive. You
addiction.
get one, and you got to have your whole body the next day.
You get one, and you end up with 35.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, hey, thanks so much for sitting down with us. I know
pleasure.
you're busy, and you got a lot of stuff going on here tonight,
pleasure.
so we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Appreciate it.
All right, there we go. Michael Tarver. Man, we talked about, earlier about Watanabe and all them, and going back a few weeks ago about Ruthless Ryan Davidson, sometimes they seem as though they could just be natural heels. When we sat down and we talked to Tarver, and you heard it here in this interview, he was such a nice dude. He was a really good guy. I felt like sitting there talking to him, I felt like I've known him for years. He was so awesome of a easygoing guy to talk to. But when we saw him come out to that ring, he was 360 degrees. Or, well, no, wait, that's 180. There you go. My bad. It was 180 degrees. He was like a totally different person. Like, when he came out, with the little mask on, and he had that mean look on his face, and, doing the little T gestures with his, fists and all that, he looked like he could have been like a pretty rough customer.
I think I told you this after the fact, but that I was most surprised by interviewing him.
Yeah,
I've never seen him outside of anything on TV or anything from NXT days or anything like that, so I didn't know anything about his personality or anything. And very surprised about how nice he was to us.
Yeah.
And when we say that they're being nice to us, I mean, we've had interviews before, and all the guys that we've had on our shows, they're really cool cats. They're really cool guys to talk to. But I did notice, just like we're talking about it now, the effort that we're putting on making this special edition episode for the fans. I think something about, I guess, the heritage of the NWA.
Yeah.
And having, and how we mentioned earlier about the significance of the national anthems and the Bosches and all the representatives from NWA Florida and Georgia and down south at Rio Grande. This vibe just felt like one or two levels above what a normal indie house show or a normal indie show or even a regular indie NWA show would be, to where you can see it and you can hear it in their interviews and see it when you guys were talking to them in person, and even the extra oomph, the extra effort that we got, where the criticisms validated that every match on the card could be a main event match at any house show. Mm-hmm. And it rubbed off, and it obviously rubbed off on the interviews that you guys had, and again in the match with Michael Tarver. I've always liked the different dynamic of having a boxer in a pro wrestling ring and how his movements would come across against a wrestling opponent. And Jax Dane is a beast.
Yeah, he is.
That's the perfect punching bag. He could have just worn out a Spalding shirt and he would have sold it. And he sold it like $1 million, and then he threw everything back at Tarver, and they just worked really well together.
They did. And, that was a really good match, and it was just as hard hitting as I thought it'd be. And, of course we had another, twist little ending going on there where,
beginning.
Well, and the beginning too.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Our friend, expensive and addictive Brian Wilcock got in the mix before the match even started.
Or,
laying in.
as Travis likes to say, Big Daddy Yum Yum.
I do like the name. It's
we'll get to that part later, but yes, that's
it's 267 pounds of chocolate.
Yeah, gallons of chocolate.
Oh wow, yeah. His presence was felt before the match started, and it was an uphill battle for Dane. Stiff offense by Dane, and Tarver sold it so well. Both of the guys look good. That spear at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before. I don't know if we've talked about it on air, but I know that we've talked about this. If it wasn't on air, it was just us personally, that it seems as though nowadays the spear is a little bit overused, but the people that do it well, it looks so good. For example, Roman Reigns. Oh my God, when he does a spear, it looks so good. That spear that we saw on Friday night, that was an example of a really good spear. You know, I mean, it rivals that of, I've only seen it once, but so far, comparing that to Roman Reigns' spear, it's on par.
Yeah.
And coming from such a big dude, this guy is not small. Jax Dane's a big beast, and it coming from him, it just looks devastating.
And again, it takes two to tango. The spears that Roman Reigns has been hitting on his opponents, they're more than willing to sell it as good as Roman gives it, and that's another example of Michael Tarver making it look devastating. Not only the fact that Jax Dane put all his weight behind it, you can hear as soon as he hit it, but Michael Tarver just sold it like $1 million.
Indeed. So, and what was cool about this match, aside from, the in-ring and all that, and the obvious setup that it's doing for maybe a feud down the line, is that it also tied into the main event later on in that night.
Yeah.
So you had not only storyline continuation just in compartments, just for their program that they're working, but it also spilled over to something else later that night in a different match.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty neat. I always like when there's that type of continuation and acknowledgement of other things that happen on the card.
So just to clarify, as good as Jax Dane was, he lost by shake weight.
Yes. By shake weight, yes. Big Daddy Yum Yum, made his presence known, had his shake weight in tow, and bam!
As any good heel would.
As any good heel would, yes. And, shake weight, laid him out. So, there you go, heel win, and of course, sometimes heel wins set up for...
Heels win the battle, but they don't necessarily win the war.
Exactly, exactly. So, alright, well, what's next on the card?
Oh, Kincaid versus Owens.
Our contact, our friend there at the at NWA kind of snuck up behind us when that match was just about to start, and he comes up and he whispers to us, and he goes, "Hey, this match is probably going to be match of the night.
The show stealer.
And I was like, okay, alright, cool. And again, I hadn't seen either one of those guys. I think I've heard of Kincaid, but I hadn't heard of Owen. So I was like, not skeptical, but I just didn't know what to expect. So when he came up and he told us that, I was like, oh, alright, cool. And I just took it for what it was. I should have paid a little bit more attention because he was right. That match was the match of the night. Hands down. I don't know if maybe you two want to disagree. Maybe you'd say a different match was, but I think for me personally, that match really was the show stealer. It was the match of the night, I believe.
I'll agree with you on that one. It was just, they had a nice combination of just chain wrestling and good sequences of moves, and a good finish and everything, Plus there was, at the start of the match, there was there was a really good, send off of he was retiring the old belt.
Yeah.
And they brought out the new design, for Kincaid just to have it, just so he can
give it back to the ref.
Yeah. But, belt looks good though.
Yeah, it's a nice looking belt.
Yeah. And they said it's officially, it's an official NWA belt,
Yeah, this was for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. It wasn't for the Lone Star belt. It was for the World Junior Heavyweight. Yeah. And, I've always been a fan of, I've said this 1,000 times, the X Division. Always been a fan of, the cruiserweights and all that. So, I've always had that expectation whenever that type of stuff happens, and I lived up to it. And, there was a lot of great chain, but there was also a lot of great, flippy dippies and whatnot, and a lot of high octane stuff. And, given the chance, this could be, seeing more of their junior heavyweights, it could be on par with, if not better than, the X Division. You know, I'm willing to go out on that limb, only seeing one match. But, you know, hopefully we'll get to see more, you know, as the days go by, we get to see more of this junior heavyweight NWA division. But if this is what their best representatives are, their best representatives are damn good. Yeah. I would say.
I think that the highlight of the night for me was, Kincaid's suicide dive into an arm drag on the out rope, on the bottom rope.
Yes.
And we weren't able to completely see everything, but we had a little bird's eye view of the monitor in front of us that was videotaping the show for their DVD, and it looked massive.
Yes.
They were pulling out some stuff that even now that we've been watching wrestling for so long, especially the light heavyweight division, the X division, the light cruiserweight stuff like that, the high flyers, they were pulling out stuff that even I hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I was saying, interesting combinations of moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good example of that. Right there.
You know, I really liked both guys as characters. I really like Kincaid's character. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it is, just from one match, you know, just seeing his entrance. I mean, it kind of just reminded me of something out of the Texas Renaissance Festival. And I think that's cool. You know, him coming out with the electronic music, but with the bagpipes. Like, that was really awesome. And then, you know, Chase Owens, you know, he has, you know, he seems as though he's got the charismatic, douchey kind of heel thing going, played to a T.
Little bodyguard coming out with the rear.
Yeah, the bodyguard behind him. And
the remix of Radioactive from Imagine Dragons sounded awesome.
That did sound
and the way he walked out to it, you know, when the Jim Johnston would talk about how he would make theme music to go along with the character and how the beat would go along to it. It just fit him perfectly. It just set the tone for the match.
Yeah, I've never seen or heard of Chase Owens before, and that's no, you know, slight on him or anything like that. I never heard of the guy. Mm-hmm. But he looked like he's been doing this for a while. I mean, he looks like he has his character down. He's got his moveset and everything, his appearance, ring gear. It looked like he's
ready for the next level.
Yeah.
And who's to say NWA isn't already the next level?
Yeah.
It seems as though NWA might be making a resurgence. I mean, we've seen some things about that online. And after this show, it's kind of made me a little bit of a believer.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. What was the following match after that?
It was the tag team semi-main event.
Yes.
Hell of a transition. You know, we had a great light heavyweight match for the NWA junior heavyweight title, you know, and you flash back to maybe 15 years ago when we had the beginning, you know, Jushin Thunder Liger and Brian Pillman, you know, the foundations of what light heavyweight wrestling could be here in the States. And that came back full circle, having him as a special guest. As a special guest at the show and him actually competing.
Jushin Thunder Liger came down here. That was really, really cool. Him and then his partner Tenzin. Yeah. You know, Tenzin sounds so familiar. I didn't recognize him, but his name sounds really, really familiar. So I don't know where I know this guy from.
It sounds a little bit like Tenzai. That might be where.
Is that what it is?
That might be where you made the reference.
God, I hope it's not just that.
You know, I don't recognize his name, but incidentally, he reminds me of. I know it's not, but I'm thinking of Chono from NWO.
Yes.
He looks, I mean, to me, he just looked like him. I thought for a second, maybe it was him because they had Liger. I thought maybe they had him too.
Masahiro Chono.
Yeah. But I know it's not him. To me, it just kind of resembled him. But it was just cool seeing Liger just in general, you know, just by himself, seeing him in person.
Yes.
You know, we didn't talk about that. We did get to meet him, before the show started.
Before the show started, there was that, whole VIP thing where, if you paid the extra money to have the VIP ticket, you could go in and meet all the different wrestlers. It wasn't just, the Japanese guys. It was everybody. Everybody was there at different tables and booths selling, 8x10s and taking pictures with everybody. So that was really cool. And yeah, we did get a chance to go there and beat Little Marks and just walk up to, you know, the Japanese guys and, take a picture and, you know, shook.
Damn right it was.
Yeah. We got a chance to shake all of their hands, and they were all like very, very gracious. Them as well. You know, they didn't all have to do that. They weren't charging us to take pictures, you know, with them. They were just standing there and let everybody just come up to them and take pictures. And, you know, I got to shake hands with every single one of them, go up and down the line and shook hands with everyone, and they were all telling, you know, us in their accent, you know, thank you. It was really cool, you know, shaking Liger's hand even, you know, he's thanking me. Yeah. He's thanking me and shaking my hand. It's like, dude, I should be thanking you. So it was like, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you.
You know, I did see that. Abel was with Liger for quite a few minutes, just saying thank you back and forth. It was getting kind of ridiculous. It was getting kind of ridiculous.
I got
Abel.
stuck in a loop.
Yes. I think that was on purpose.
Somebody
actually.
had to restart my programming. Yeah.
Damn, I missed that.
Yeah, Chris. By the way, Chris showed up late.
As usual.
No, I showed up on time for the show. I
That's true.
didn't have access to show up early enough. I didn't have the benefit that you guys had, that you could have shown up early enough for the meet and greet. I was unaware that our credentials gave us that option. Had I known that beforehand, I would have probably called in sick or something, not gone to work at all, and been at the airport like 5 minutes away, waiting for the guys to show up to have the little 5-minute thank you booth.
Right.
Well, getting back to that match, aside from getting over the fact that we saw Liger perform in person,
Yes.
in a match, they went up against the Killer Elite Squad. You know, Lance Hoyt and Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Yes, that's also really freaking cool. I mean, everybody's going off about Liger, which is a big deal. But it's a big deal to see, you know, the Killer Elite Squad, to see Davey Boy Smith Jr.
The NWA Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, and the NWA World Tag Team Champions, and Lance Hoyt. And, you know, here's something about Lance Hoyt. Before the match started, after Tenzin and Liger were already in the ring, they came out last, and they cut a heel promo.
Right.
And Lance Hoyt, on TNA, back from, you know, where we know him from, he always seemed like this goofy character that never really got over, and, you know, I was never really high on the guy. But when he cut that promo, I could tell, and even from his ring gear, the way he was dressed up, I could tell, this isn't the same Lance Hoyt.
He's evolved.
He's evolved. He's changed a little bit, and he could cut a promo. Who knew this dude could cut a promo?
He still got that tramp stamp, but yeah, he's evolved.
Well, yeah, he
Beat me to it. That's what I was about to say.
But, you know, it seemed as though when he was in TNA, he may have been playing a character. And it seems now, the way he is, I think it's just him turned up to 11. And that's, you know, we've said this before, it's been said many a time, that makes the best wrestling characters. It's yourself turned up a notch. And that's what it seems like it is with him. And I liked it. I really dug what he had going on. And then, of course, Davey Boy Jr. I mean,
another guy that on WWE television just looked as
generic,
plain as vanilla.
Yeah.
And for some reason, teaming up with Hoyt, he was a lot more charismatic.
He had the tag team belt around his neck, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, just different things like that you wouldn't normally probably see from him on WWE TV, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just cool it was just another, you know, name that you recognized, and you were expecting something, and you see him in person, and you're like, oh, wait, you're different.
Better than I thought you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, we're just talking about character here. We haven't even gotten into the match itself. The match itself was pretty darn good. Yeah. You know, and it did follow the junior heavyweight match, and those guys are in their prime. And when you think about Liger, you think about Liger 10, 15 years ago. You know, Liger is a legend. But, you know, you could kind of tell he doesn't have as much spring in his step as he did 10, 15 years ago.
Right, yeah.
That's to be expected.
Right.
The fact that we even got to see him is an honor, you know. But just speaking solely about the in-ring, you know, he wasn't what he once was. He was still pulling out, you know, some of the moves with the running chop into the corner. Yeah. That was really cool. It was kind of a little mark out thing. Oh, what was something that I noticed was that Liger was in the match, and he was the one that was getting the beat down. Mm-hmm. He was the face that was getting worked over by the heel tag team for the first, 5 minutes or so of the match. I really didn't expect that from him. He didn't need to be the guy that was the one that was getting beat up and then had to hot tag out. He could have been the guy that was going to take it easy on the apron, come in, do one or two, you know, signature moves, and then win the match, and it'd be all glorious. No, this dude put in work.
Yeah.
He came to work. He brought his lunch pail with him, and he put on his blue collar, and that boy earned his money. Yeah. You know, and that was really, really, really cool. And I think that was a real honor for the NWA guys, NWA Houston, the guys he was in the ring with. I think that was just awesome.
Yeah, just being in the ring with him, that made the Killer Elite Squad look good, you know, and Liger's tag team partner made him look good. Because he was the one that made the,
Tenzan's hot tags were awesome, by the way.
Yes.
For as much credit as we give Liger because our hearts would go back to our younger days watching light heavyweight wrestling. Tenzan put in his work too.
Yes.
He did a really good job.
And all that being said, they did do the job. They laid down for the Killer Elite Squad.
Well,
over to those guys.
Let's talk about the finish. Cause,
Okay.
You're, I don't know.
I am jumping ahead.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to gloss over the finish. As good as the match was, with Liger on them, there was a botch in the finish.
Yeah.
I think the referee kind of missed a step a little bit on where the finish actually was, because that was a 3 count, and that he acknowledged was a 3 count, and then after that, the match kept going, and the ref did another 3 count, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was just a straight botch by the ref, or if it was supposed to be some sort of weird screw job that they'll say, was an angle later on or something. I don't know. It seemed as though it could have just been a botch,
I think
I'm not
botch.
sure.
But to their credit, the Killer Elite Squad, they did another really high impact move right of that and just pinned them.
Yeah, they kept going. They worked through it.
The referee was the only one that you can tell there was a hiccup. Like he was off a step when that whole thing happened. But the rest of the guys just make sure that we didn't notice it as bad as it could have been.
They knew how to continue.
That's the thing with botches and mess ups. They're gonna happen. Nobody is perfect. They're gonna happen. Where you're really defined is how do you react when they happen? And I think they reacted well. They were able to, continue the match, even though there was that weird hiccup or whatever. It kind of confused some people. The timekeeper did ring the bell after that first one. But the match did continue. And like you said, the Killer Elite Squad didn't miss a beat. They kept playing and they kept, doing their thing. They did another high impact move. And, they finished out the match the way that it was intended and the way it was planned. And so there you go. And like I said, it was neat seeing Liger lay down for these guys and make them look good. It could have just very easily been, hey, everybody come down, see me, and I'm going to do my 1 or 2 moves, collect my paycheck, and then boom, I'm out of here and I win, and that's it. And that's not what he did. He did the more honorable thing, which is put in work and lay down.
Make the young guys look good.
Exactly. Make their belts also look good.
Yeah.
Their title holders look good.
Hi.
All right. After that, main event time, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Iron Man, Rob Conway versus Big Daddy Yum Yum, Byron Wilcott.
As you like to say that I like to say that name, you've just rattled that off like 3 times in this one little show here.
I do it for you, Travis. I do.
You do it for me. Oh,
that's a new drinking game, apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. So
I think we know what he really likes to call him.
Yeah.
I'm not hating,
Do what you gotta do, Abel.
Okay, all right. Enough of that. Let's move on to the
Darren Young made it okay for everyone.
So I hate you guys so much. Let's move on, please. All right. So, we had. Can I say something about Conway here? He's another dude, much like Lance Hoyt, that it seems as though he's made himself a new character. He is somebody completely different than what we saw, in WWE, 7-8 years ago. And it's impressive, and I buy it. He really is, living out this different gimmick, this Iron Man gimmick. He comes out to the Iron Man song.
Naturally.
Of course. But I really liked his ring gear. His jacket that he came out with that had the American flag on one side and all that. I thought that was cool.
I wasn't so sure about that.
You didn't like it?
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't know what to think of it.
I thought it was awesome.
It was like it was like a gladiator with the American flag draped on the side.
Yeah.
Over the shoulder.
Change his name to the Iron Patriot. Then it would make more sense.
Well, maybe it was because, it's the invasion, the Japanese guys, he's representing the
Maybe
US.
he doesn't normally have that flag over the shoulder.
If he does normally have it, I like it. I don't have a problem with it. I think it looks cool. The sunglasses and everything.
I've never seen that before, having that half the flag as your coat, like draped over.
Yeah.
It was alright.
Alright. But, that coupled...
I'm just indifferent towards it. I don't know.
You're not hating, you're not loving, you're just like, it's there.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a nice ring gear.
Yeah. Well, that coupled with... It just seemed as though he was the leader of the team.
Yeah.
He carried himself as though he was the NWA World Champion. Like, he is the Tom Brady of their team. You know, he's the quarterback that's in charge.
Hey, you hear that? Somebody that doesn't know much about sports dropping the Patriots line. He's getting there, Trav.
It flew over Travis's head, though. But anyway.
Which one of the Bradys is that? I don't know.
You say Brady, he thinks Marsha.
Yeah.
Marsha.
Marsha. But, you know, he has that command and that presence about him, which, you know, watching him in WWE several years ago, he was
still
really
looking
that.
for it.
Yeah. And I feel like he settled into more of a character now.
He didn't have Conway Heat anymore.
Yeah, he didn't. He had Conway Pop.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it? You know? And then again, you know, we interviewed him last week, and he was a really awesome dude, a great guy to talk to. So far, our experience with him has been really good. And then seeing him in the match was really good. And then, of course, getting introduced to Byron Wilcott. You know, earlier in the show, we talked to him. We don't want to steal our own thunder here, but let's just say if we do wind up getting an interview with him later on down the line, there is going to be a really funny story about something that happened during that night.
Yes.
So that's a little tease there for you. But, you know, it was really great interacting with him. And then just his character is really unique. It's like, it's a serious character, but it's still a comedy character. But he's charismatic enough to pull it off and still be the Lone Star Heavyweight Champion. You know, it's not like, oh, he's just a comedy thing, so he's in the middle of the card like a Santino. Like, he's got this comedy, but he makes it work. You know, and I think that's really cool.
I was seeing if Travis doesn't say anything. There's so many gimmicks in wrestling where there's the rich guy or that guy that thinks he's worth all that kind of money. And it's hard to differentiate yourself from every other person that does it. But I saw like flashes of Pancake Patterson in him, like the humor side of his character, where you know he knows he's worth it, but he comes across it in a way that is so much easier to digest. Not digest as in 235 pounds of like milk chocolate, you know, but the way gallons, the way he makes all that stuff stand out, like and the yum and all that, he just pulls it off really well, and he has you can tell he has that kind of humor. Yes. It's not something that a booker, that somebody told him, hey, this is going to be your character, you run with it. That looks like something he would do, like when, like out on the town, like having drinks with the fellas. That looks like that's what he is.
Yeah, we bumped into him before the show, and I got that, what you just said. He is kind of like
that. So. Even before the show, when he was at the table with Michael Tarver, and he was talking trash across the room to a couple other wrestlers that were getting autographs. That just looks like how he is. Like he's enjoying himself. Mm-hmm. And you gotta like that, you know, cause and that's another example, like I said, Scott Summers earlier, if he shows that kind of fire, he rubs it off on everyone else, and that's where the crowd starts getting their heat, and they start boiling up to the point where you got them right where you want them. Yeah. And in the other aspect of it, that's how Byron Wilcott gets you. Like you know he's having a good time. You're supposed to hate him because he's a bad guy, you're booing him, but you can't help but have a good time watching him perform.
Yes. And, you know, this comparison is going to be a little bit out there. Don't say that I'm like directly saying this is what he's like, but
he's warning us.
So I'm warning you. But the way that it's not. The way that works, where it's serious but comedy, it's a heel but you like it. It kind of reminds me a little bit. I'm not saying he's this guy. I'm just saying it reminds me a little bit of The Rock. The Rock, when he was a heel, he was still able to throw in the comedy stuff but still be taken seriously. You know, that's kind of what this reminds me of a little bit. You know? Travis, I see the look on your face. No, I'm not saying he's The Rock.
I'm just...
The gears processing.
The gears are turning.
I can see where you're coming from with that. Obviously not on the same level because The Rock is The Rock.
Yeah.
But the beginnings, when he first had the heel turn and he still dropped the lines, I can see where you're coming from with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it.
All right. I had to preface the hell out of that. But
and that would be, I would take, if he's listening, Wilcott, I mean, that would be a good compliment to him.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the match itself. This match, it feels as though, especially all the way up until when we started having the shenanigans happen, it felt as though this really was their freaking world heavyweight match. it was going back and forth. It was hard hitting. It really seemed like both guys wanted to win. And both guys were going at it, and they were kind of brawling outside around. Wilcott was like, got caught up, on the guard railing where it turned a corner there, and he was like trying to be draped across the guard railing. And like, Conway was like on him, kind of like beating him up while he was on the guard railing. I was like, dude, that looks completely uncomfortable. Like, what are they doing?
It looked completely unnecessary, yet it was so cool to watch.
Yeah, it was. It was like, this guy is really beating his ass, but he's beating his ass in an uncomfortable way. Like, I really feel bad for this guy. You know? So that was really cool, and it showed that they were really kind of just going all out, balls to the wall, taking advantage of the no DQ.
Balls to the ring post.
Yes, and that happened as well.
Oh wow!
You know, where it was Wilcott, or was it? It was Wilcott that took that, right? Yeah. He kind of ran him into legs first, legs spread open first into the.
For some reason, I don't know.
Right in the M&Ms.
Yeah. Oh man, melts in your mouth, not in your hand. Woo!
That is disgusting.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But you know. Then towards the end of the match, we have Tarver come out. And this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, that, you know, some things earlier on the card weaves itself into later on down the line, where we have Tarver come out seemingly helping out Wilcott. And since it was no DQ, he just kind of got blatant with it and started beating up on Conway.
Yeah.
Well, out comes Jax Dane to make the save, because after all, Dane had heat with Tarver, and he kind of pulls him off of the ring apron, and, you know, he hits his face on the ring apron, and they get to brawl in, and then Wilcott and Conway are brawling, so we have like 2 brawls going on, so that was really cool. And,
was it bananas?
It was bananas! See, I've on purpose haven't been dropping that line as often as I normally have.
I know, it's been killing you every time.
Yeah,
right?
It has. It was bananas! So there, I had to get it out. Thank you for the opportunity.
That's why I'm here.
You know, and then, you know, we wound up ending the match there, you know, with Conway still standing tall with his championship intact.
And trashing the shake weight in the Garbaggio.
Yes! Yes, the shake weight.
No more shake weight.
No more shake weight. He got thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, while him and Jax Dane were celebrating the win, sending everybody home happy, you know.
That closing promo from Rob Conway kind of solidified for me that he's a capable guy to take the NWA title to where it needs to go. Like he looked like he deserves to be on the list of Ric Flair, Von Erich, you know, all these other guys before him. Like he understands the prestige of having the title and just putting over NWA in general and the significance of the title post match to the audience just sold it for me. Like the guy is deserving of it. Like this isn't no slouch. This guy can pull it off.
He's not the mid-card wrestler people remember him from.
Yeah, my mentality of La Resistance went out the window after he dropped that. That was it for me. Like he's legit as an NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, and I buy it too.
And part of that is saying that NWA puts enough faith in him to give him the title.
Yeah,
you know,
and part of that too is it seems as though the NWA has enough faith in all of their guys to let them be who they are and develop their own character. Yeah. It doesn't seem like a lot of it is cookie cutter, prepackaged. This is what creative said they want you to do. And I don't know if they have that rigid of a creative. If they do, then that's awesome that they're able to mask it and make it seem real. If they don't, that's great that they don't have that rigid of creative and they let the guys make themselves. Either way, however they're doing it, it's working.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
It was a hell of a show.
It was a hell of a show. Overall, my thought coming out of the show was that
Hashtag better than Bound for Glory.
Yes, it was. It probably will be better than Bound for Glory. Yes. But what I was really going to say is that we said a few months ago when Ring of Honor came to town that Ring of Honor show was probably one of the best shows we've ever been to, and that I personally have ever been to. If you don't want to count as NWA as like a national fed, which I would make an argument that you should, but if you were to not, I would say this is the best indie show I've been to, period. If you want to count it amongst national shows like WWE, TNA, ROH, if you want to throw NWA in there, I'd say that NWA show rivaled the ROH show that I went to before WrestleMania 24, which is what I say, for me personally, is the best show I've ever been to. So it depends how you really want to categorize it. If you want to categorize it as an indie show, it's the best indie show. If you want to categorize it as all shows, it's one of the best that I've ever been to.
It's up there,
That's how good this show freaking was.
Yeah.
You know? How do you guys feel?
Like I said before, this is my first NWA show to go to, and whereas when we went to Ring of Honor, it was more about the high impact, the style of Ring of Honor was, that's what they're known for,
Yeah.
This was more about the heritage and tradition of NWA, plus with all of the New Japan stuff. That right there made it special for me enough to me where I consider this one of my favorite shows I've been to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris?
I'm gonna double his sentiment. Like Ring of Honor, it's you get different sizes, but you get one style, and you get that fed all night, like pancakes. You love it in the beginning, and by the end, you're sick of them. NWA, you got everything, and everything was prime cut, like the cream of the crop. Yeah. It wasn't Bush League anything.
You know what? You say that there was everything. There is one thing that was missing that I wish that we did see. And I know that NWA does have a little bit of this, but maybe there's just too much on the card for this show. Maybe we'll see it in future shows. We didn't see any ladies wrestling. We didn't see any of the females at this show. And I kind of really wanted to see what they had to offer in NWA as far as the females go.
To me, it didn't, no. They had enough stuff going on.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying that it took away from the show, but I'm just saying that was one thing that I would have had as another cherry on top.
No, I see what you're saying. I'm just saying with the card that they had, I didn't even go down looking at that card and said, I wish they had, divas or something. It didn't even, women wrestling wasn't even a factor when I was looking at the card.
Okay.
Okay. We had Barbie and the Ring Girl. Yeah, good enough.
I think they've had some wrestling in the women's wrestling in NWA Houston before. I've seen Barbie there a few times, but I think it wasn't a detraction or it wasn't a deal maker or a deal breaker. Like the show that we got was enough.
Yeah.
If the goal of the show for people that haven't been to NWA were to get their attention to bring them to more shows, dude, they succeeded on every level. Mm-hmm. So the next show that you go to at NWA, if you didn't get your women's fix, you probably get it on the next show.
Yeah. And I feel as though this wasn't an NWA Houston show.
Hell no.
This was an NWA National Wrestling Spotlight Alliance show.
Yeah.
Everybody, all those promoters from all the different NWAs were there. The president of NWA was there. I feel as though this was like more of NWA is going to descend on NWA Houston and kind of have all of their national titles, be showcased there, as well as their local guys. So it was kind of more of a, we're going to bring our best of the country here. So, I think that when we go to an NWA Houston show, we're going to see some of this. Of course, it's not going to be as big as what this show is. But the potential is there, even from the guys that were the Lone Star champions and not the world champions.
I don't even think it's potential. I think it's above that. I think they have what
you think it's realized.
I think it's realized. Okay. And it was just solidified by the show.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I've always wondered how wrestling would have been like if we were around in the 80s.
Yes.
When we saw NWA, when we had the touring champions, when we had all that going on. It's one thing to watch the clips on the documentaries of Ric Flair documentaries or clips on their on the NWA side or on YouTube of old classic NWA matches. The time capsule was complete on Friday. That's what we got was exactly what you would have gotten in the 90s when NWA was still touring around before WCW got their hands on it. That's what you would have got. That's what you would have got in the 80s, in the 70s. That was Throwback Friday. That was it. Like that. Like my dream was visualized that night, being able to watch what we ended up getting.
Yes.
So for me, that's what would make it one of my favorites.
And I think that's what that kind of encapsulates what I was thinking earlier about the heritage and being able to see an NWA show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Oh, I did want to say one thing real quick.
Okay.
It was where we were sitting. It was kind of cool. We had a little another person sitting next to us.
Oh yes. Let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, we had they announced that, PW Torch is on the way to sit here and report the show. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're gonna be sitting next to you. Oh, alright. Cause as is, we were already at a freaking table. We weren't at the seats.
Right. Hey, you got room for one more? It's like, yeah, sure, who's coming? PW Torch.
And that was a bit of a mark out moment. And hey, he was a really, really nice guy.
James Caldwell. James Caldwell, yeah. Anybody that goes to PW Torch, they know that name.
Yeah, James and his wife, it was Melissa, right?
I think so.
Yeah, they were both really, really nice. They were really cool. And, we got to sit there with them and enjoy the show with them during the night.
Like I told him, that's where, I get all my my news information from him.
Yeah,
and he's over here sitting next to me typing up his own report.
I made Travis. I sold Travis on him, making Travis look good by having him show him the PW Torch app on his phone to legitimize the fact that this isn't just us talking smack.
I don't need you to show me how to download or anything. I have it already. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So James, the Nar World Order episode. If you want to listen to us make fun of the app because we were talking about it during before the show, that's the episode you should listen to. Great guy. It was great to sit with them. On a personal note, two little guys here, and then the third wheel doing a podcast just because we like it.
Yeah.
That's how James started on PW Torch, just commenting on posts and being consistent, and then they asked him to be a columnist, and then from there he just got to the point where he is where he's at right now. So it's possible.
We had both ends of
both spectrums.
Yeah. On one end was the beginning, the other one was the end.
he's living the dream that we're striving for.
Right. Yeah.
So it was very encouraging talking to him and seeing that it is possible to make a living at this stuff.
Yeah. And I guess the reception the overall feel that we got from everybody at NWA, just thanks for it. It pretty much solidified the fact that it can happen.
Indeed.
And we're real grateful for it. At least I am.
More personal notes here. It was really cool running into some of our listeners, that the ones that we do know, the ones that we've already made friends with, like, David Turner, Mike Turner, Christine, Jaime Martinez, all of them. It was cool running into them, but it was also really cool running into some people we didn't even know who they were, and they're like, hey, Houston Wrestling Radio, yeah, we listen to your show. Like, that was freaking awesome.
Enjoy your honeymoon at WrestleMania, guys.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that was really awesome running into those guys, and, it was just a great time all the way around, and, if we're ever at a show and we post up on our Facebook or on our Twitter that we're going to a place, don't feel afraid or feel shy. Walk on up to us, shake our hand, tell us hi, and, we love to get to know our listeners.
Abel needs his ego stroked, so please let him know. He needs the attention, folks.
Screw you,
we could always use more friends. Yeah, come up and say hi. Y'all want us over.
This jerk. Okay, anything else before we get on out of here?
Nope.
I think that's it. No.
Thank you so much for listening here to this little mini episode. We are going to have a regular episode up later on in the week where we're going to talk about, our regular format, WWE, TNA, and whatnot.
Bound for Glory post-show, Hell in a Cell pre-show.
Ah, yes,
our
true.
build-up. We're going to be going over all of that.
Yeah, so go ahead and tune in. We'll probably have that up on Wednesday, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So there we go. All right. Adios, my friends. Keep it classy.
Toodles!
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!